It's just about 18 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. This is Now Your Body and You. Now, we're going to be discussing healthy eating habits and how this can reduce hypertension and heart disease. Now, joining me to discuss this is actually Miss Evelyn Davis, who has been a nurse for over 40 years. She's actually a Tobagonian based in Atlanta, Georgia, and she has been certified, and she also has a BSc in nursing. So, Miss Davis, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, what are some of the causes, first of all, of hypertension?
Well, actually, the causes are really unknown, but the contributing factors that can lead to hypertension are smoking, dietary habits, lack of exercise, stress, old age, and genetics. Those are some of the ones
Hmm.
that will contribute to your hypertension.
So genetics, as in it might have been something that was hereditary, something passed on from generation to generation.
Right, correct, correct.
Interesting. And in terms of blood pressure, like when we say somebody has high blood pressure, low blood pressure, I mean, what does it mean and how does it affect the individual?
Well, high blood pressure is considered, they changed the parameters in the past 5 years. It used to be high blood pressure would be 140 over 90. If your blood pressure is over that, that was the borderline. So let's say your blood pressure is 149 over 92, you would be considered hypertensive. So right now, the standards says that if your blood pressure, your systolic blood pressure, which is the top number, is over 120, and the bottom number, which is the diastolic number, that is above 80. So you would have considered hypertension if your blood pressure is 120, is above 120 over 80.
And so then what would you say is a normal blood pressure reading or something that we should aspire to?
Well, you want to aspire to the 120 over 80. They're accepting 110 over 70, 110 over 80. They're accepting those figures for as normal blood pressure. They want you to stay in the 110s, the 120s.
Mm.
You want to keep, actually, you want to keep the bottom number away from 100 as much as possible because actually the bottom number is what does the damage in the body. The bottom number signifies when your heart is at rest. If your heart is at rest, there should not be a high pressure in your arteries. So if the pressure is high in your arteries and your heart is at rest, for a tiny fraction of a second, the heart stops beating. We don't know it because we keep going, but I think it's 0.004 percent. Your heart will stop and it will rest. And so if your heart rests, why is the pressure in the arteries high if it's not doing any work? So that's the bottom number is really the dangerous number.
Mm. Interesting. Now, I mean, if we do get a reading like this, what are some of the things we can do to ensure that we can maintain a good reading and, keep that blood flow going?
Well, what you want to do is to decrease your sodium intake, which is your salt intake. That's one of the biggest contributors to hypertension is we eat a lot of salt, potato chips, we add salt to the foods. Um, and here in Tobago, I think it's really interesting because the number of spices that we have, you can actually use those spices to flavor your food and you really don't need salt, or you can decrease your salt intake. You want to make sure that you are active. You want to get up, you want to get moving. We're living a sedentary society right now where everybody's sitting and we're glued to our cell phones, we're glued to our computers, we're glued to all different type of technical devices. So you want to get up and you want to get moving. If you exercise for 30 minutes a day, that can make a difference. If you're smoking, what smoking does to the body is it constricts the arteries. So when you constrict the arteries, the pressure in the artery is going to rise. So if you're smoking, you want to stop smoking. You want to increase your diet with legumes, which are nuts, berries. Um, you want to decrease your fat intake, which is, ice creams, um, a lot of the margarines that we use. You want a low sodium, low salt, low fat, high protein, and lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, which we have here in Tobago.
Now, Ms. Davis, in theory, it sounds good, right? What you're suggesting. But of course, we in the Caribbean,
Right.
we love our salts, we love the seasonings, we love the vetsin. I mean, are there any substitutes for those kind of things, or should we just decrease how much we actually use?
Actually, you can increase the amount. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use a lot of the seasonings that you have, and seasons, because I myself had, and I just my sodium and I use a lot of seasonings. In the States, I can even get shadow benny in the States.
Nice.
So I use a lot of fresh herb, and I don't actually miss the salt. I don't eat snacks like chips and those type of things. I eliminated those totally from my diet. So you can do those things. It is possible to do it. I know here we love to have our salted pigtails and our salt beef to season our callaloo and our stews and so forth. If that's the case, you want to wash out and cook out as much of the sodium in that salted pigtail or that salted beef if you can.
Now, in terms of the food, because I know a lot
And
of dietitians would say that we are lucky here.
just get moving and eat fruit, lots of fruits and vegetables. You are lucky here. You are very
Yes.
lucky here. Since I've been here, I've been, breakfast, some people will have some fried bake, some fried fish, or some saltfish bulgjao, or so forth for breakfast, and some tea. Think of all the calories you've just eaten. The fried bake alone. We have to remember when we eat a lot of starches like dumpling, yams, dashi, edos, all of those provisions, they're starches. And once they get into the body
Miss Davis, are you
has
still there?
the body
Miss
as
Davis?
fat.
All right, Miss Davis,
Yes, I'm still
hi.
here.
Yes, it seemed as
Yes,
if you're
I'm
having
still
a
here.
bit of technical difficulties a while, so you froze a little bit.
Yeah.
But just to continue what you were
So,
saying about, the type of foods that we should
yeah,
eat, can you continue
yeah.
along that line? Yes. Miss Davis, still there with us?
Yes. What you want? Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay. So what you want to do is okay, what I see on the Caribbean plate is callaloo, which is fine, stewed chicken, which is fine, but we're loaded up with macaroni pie. We have rice, and we have potato salad, we have and other visions on that plate. The rice, you have to eliminate most of that. I'm going to say most of that. What you need is a protein, and pile your plate up with as much vegetables and salads, and then you can have, a small piece of the macaroni pie. But you can't have the macaroni pie, the potato salad, the dumpling, the dasheen, and the green bananas all in one setting, because those are all starches. And as I said earlier, what your body will do is use those as sugars to supply energy and vital nutrients for the body. But when it's done, it's going to be stored as fat.
Miss Davis, we seem to be having some
That
problems with your connection, and I think what you're talking about is so important for us. Just can you hear me now? Are you hearing me okay? Miss Davis? All right, I think we may have lost Miss Davis. and she was giving us some nice tips there, Rocus. I mean, she was talking about the callaloo and the pigtail, and I had to drop in Vetsin there because we grew up on Vetsin.
Inside the mix, but
yeah, because we had to talk about Vetsin. People use Vetsin a lot, and I wanted to ask about that.
I don't use Vetsin in cooking. You use Vetsin when you're cooking?
Mommy used to use Vetsin when she was cooking. I know my relatives used to use Vetsin when they cooking. No, but I know that some, I wouldn't call them local chefs, but I know that some foodies actually, they may not have a problem with it. They might think Vetsin might be a good thing. So
but what's interesting for me is that, you know, she's saying that the overuse of starches, which is, I never thought, to me in my head, provision just good for you. But if you use too much of anything, I guess it's not that good.
It's always like
but
that,
I think she's back on the line if you want to try and get her
Ms.
again.
Davis, are you there? No, she isn't back as yet.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, nice. Ms. Davis, hi. Ms. Davis, I actually wanted to ask as well. You were talking about the food and you were also talking about exercise. Ms. Davis, can you hear me?
I'm still here. Yeah.
All right. I think there's a delay.
I hear you. I hear you.
I think there's a delay, but we're going to keep it moving because I do have a interesting question. Now, you mentioned the exercise and, of course, eating well.
Right.
But for those of us who can't move about as freely as we want to, what would you suggest they do just to get that physical activity? Ms. Davis? Okay. Yeah. So, Ruckus, I wanted to find out that because, of course, there are some people who are immobile, right? They may be in wheelchairs and that sort of thing. So what kind of exercises? Is it that they work out more their upper body? Like, what is it they have to do, you know?
I mean, I think that, exercise is a thing that I've realized is tailored to you. Or it has to be tailored to you, at least. So it's based on what you are able to do, what you're comfortable doing. And even if you're pushing yourself, I think that you need to get maybe a physical trainer or whoever to be able to
if
give
you can afford it.
But you can go online and Google it to get the, the things that you can go put in your body type. You can put in, what your goal is, what you hope to get. And then you have your limitations that you can probably also include to see what is the best option for you when it comes to exercise. But I mean, simple things like I know there's a gentleman who lives close to me and he walks every single morning. And this man could be like 90 by now. But literally every morning he gets up before the sun and he just takes a walk. Every morning on my way to work, I see him. He takes a walk, a nice stroll, and walks back home. And it's not, it's a fairly long walk that he takes.
Of course.
But it's not like a rapid fire exercise. And, no, but just the act of exercising, just the act of doing that consistently.
That physical activity.
Physical activity gets the blood pumping, it gets you flowing. I mean, I would definitely 100% recommend it. Just this week.
Do you walk, Ruckus? Do you
this
walk
week
or run?
I walked/run up a Hololo mountain.
You walk or you jog or you run?
All of the above.
Jog. Really?
All of the above.
I have to see that in action. What time? What's the meeting place?
Hold on. I just want you to know, ma'am, there's actual video footage of Ayinka and I running. I just want you to know that. And actually, our next guest on the show credited us and sent medals for us.
We have to get that. I have to see you in action. I can't see you running, jogging,
I will have Kent
I can't see
verify.
you skipping.
I will have Kent verify.
I can't see anything.
Let's take a break, Kimberly, and when we come back, hello, what do you want to say? Director! Can we get Kent on the line, please? Because I need to verify this information for Kimberly, who I'm trying to drag her name in these streets.
Let me just quickly thank, of course, Ms. Davis, who was with us for a short period. She is an emergency room nurse in Georgia, and she was here just sharing a little bit about how we can eat healthy and how we can reduce, hypertension and those causes of, high or low blood pressure. So, of course, you're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a quick break, and maybe when we come back, we'll have that video of Ruckus and Ayinka
Not the video,
running,
you just have
walking.
verification from Kent. Verification from Kent. Well, let's get Kent on the line for me, please. Somebody call Kent. Let me take the break.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.